All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to another manifesting masterclass. Today I'm sitting down. We're going to see how that works with the energy. But it's going to be a continuation of the lesson yesterday. All right. And this is something, it's a shift that I think many people are waiting to embody. You know, when I do a lot of my intuitive read sessions and feel into people's energy, they intuitively know, they're like, I feel like I'm at the precipice of something. You know, I feel like I'm at that next step. And a lot of times that precipice or that next step can be a little bit of a struggle to embody because it's more of like a shift in energy, you know. For so much of people's paths, it's like chasing, it is moving forward. What do I need to heal? And then at a certain point, you hit juncture where it's like healing from the need to heal, right? Healing from the need to constantly being, evolving and changing and doing shadow work and finding these things. So as always, we are going to start with some breath work. We're going to breathe in through the nose, we're going to exhale through the mouth, and then we're going to hold and do that a few times to set the energy. So go ahead and breathe in through your nose. Exhale through the mouth. Hold. Breathe in. Exhale. Hold. Now breathe in. Exhale. Hold. Amazing. All right, we are going to dive in. And before I dive in, I actually need to give a little asterisk or a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Just some additional information. If you joined yesterday, you know that we were talking about grasping and clinging, and how when you grasp or cling or hold to something, you create your own suffering, right? And I used a lot of my like personal, kind of like stories, things with like Christine and I, what we've been working on. And as soon as I ended the live, like something felt a little bit, I felt some like distortion inside, and I'm like, why, what am I feeling? And as I sat with it, it was just like, you know what? I really want to paint a correct picture for everybody. And I think sometimes when I, tell my stories, I love telling stories. And I love going into the shadow, and I love really describing, how I've learned through struggle and some of these different things. And I think sometimes I can give, maybe like this idea that the entire process has been struggle. And that's not true, right? And so yesterday, when I was describing all of these things, these beautiful things where Christine and I, right, we came together, we projected onto the relationship. We were clinging, and like shadow would come up. That was like 4 or 5 events. Okay, like that was not the entire relationship. It wasn't like constant energy. It was like there would be something that would happen, and it would surface some of that shadow. But 99% of the time, we were completely surrendered. We were completely released. We weren't clinging. We were really supporting and continue to support one another. There was so much beauty, unlike anything I have experienced anywhere else. And so I think sometimes when I, like tell the stories, I'm just like, here's all the tough stuff. Here's all the friction. Here's all the, and I'm sure everyone's just like, well, maybe that's a sign to you guys. No, there are many signs, that like I said, 99% has been ease and frictionless, and truly just the most unified thing I've ever taken in part in. And then there's basically these events that kind of like, boom, hit, stimulate some, or bring up some shadow so that we have to transmute it. And then we go into a deeper level of connection. and then exist at that deeper level of connection until that next event happened. And like I said, it was like 4 or 5, but I don't want to paint a picture that it's all been struggle, or set a benchmark for you guys expecting, that everything always has to be struggle. That is not true. So yeah, the path unfolds perfectly. I just wanted to start with that because I left yesterday and I'm like, I think I may have given them a different picture than what is the reality. But today we are diving into removing the barrier. Okay. So much of manifestation content online or people, when they talk about like spiritual practices, all of it reinforces barriers. All of it reinforces, separation or illusion. Like I saw one of the most beautiful videos and it had like 2 or 3 million views. And they were talking about how the feminine has this distinct connection to the formless. And it's so beautiful, this feminine energy. And it was talking about how like men need to experience spirituality through something else, through a partner, through a child, right? Through some form of a tool. And it had millions of views and it was super beautiful, right? In the same way that I showed you guys the video the other day where people are like, women are the closest thing to God. They are the closest thing to the divine. And it's beautiful, right? It's this beautiful language. And I see what they're trying to do. I see the sentiment trying to lift up. But the thing is, when you look at it with awareness, you also see that it's reinforcing separation, right? Women are the closest thing to the divine, so the divine is outside of them. So it's like, hey, you might be close, but it's a carrot that you're chasing, right? There's a gap. You're not it. You're close to it, but you're not it. No. You are it. You are it. You are not the closest thing to the divine. You are the divine, right? Just as, everything is. When they were talking, right, this feminine energy, so different than the masculine, deeply connected to the formless. It's like, guys, that formless you're connected to is the masculine, right? That unmanifested potential, that void of creation, that's the masculine that women feel inherently connected to. Why? Because everything is always a marriage. Everything is always the masculine and feminine principle working in union. Always. There's not a single thing in this existence that is not the masculine and feminine principle working in union. And it's fascinating because, in Hinduism, right, they talk about masculine being the space and the feminine being movement within the space or creation. They say the masculine, right, is kind of like a projective energy, while as a feminine is a receptive. But the thing is, the feminine is also expression, which is projective, right? This is why they say Shiva, the masculine principle, is a creator and a destroyer. Guess what Shakti is, the feminine principle? A creator and a destroyer. It's like these energies are always in union, always, everywhere. Even when you look at principles where you say, okay, the feminine principle is receptive. Well, when you cut into that feminine principle, what does it mean to receive something? Well, to receive something, there has to be a container that is receiving, right? There has to be some form of base that is receiving something, some signal, some energy, whatever it may be. What is the container? What is the signal? What is the receptive principle? That is the masculine and feminine in union, creating an energy or birthing an energy that is receptive. So it's always in union. Everything is always in union, always. And if we can't see it, or if we can't conceptualize it, that's more of our perception and not the fact that, it's missing. And so much content. People look through things through their lens, this fragmentation, this separation mindset, this hierarchy or supremacy narratives, whatever it may be. And they reinforce these separations even when they're trying to lift someone up, right? Support someone. And it doesn't help. It's beautiful. It's part of the process. Like sometimes you got to ascend, right? Sometimes you do need to raise your vibration. But at a certain point, the shift goes from raising or ascending into unity, into expansion, into embracing all that is, right? It's a shift, a big energetic shift. It's like, like I was saying, you're constantly healing from things. And then you got to shift and heal from the need to heal. You're like, what am I even healing? What is healing? Why do I give this energy? Like, this is where I am. This is who I am, So removing the barrier, one of the most important things, and we're going to dive into it. And I have a bunch of analogies for you guys to show these reflections. And we can see them in physical reality, but you are not ascending to anything. You are not becoming anything. It already is. It already is. It is what exists underneath all the false programming, underneath all that fragmentation that is the illusion. Okay. So while you might experience some form of an expansion, you're not actually expanding. You're just removing a barrier that was containing you. Okay. So stick with me. Let's dive in. Why does letting go of something expand you, right? Yesterday, we were talking about when you cling to something, right? Let's say it's clinging to love, clinging to a relationship. You're afraid of losing it. So it has to look a certain way. They have to be a certain way. They have to act a certain way to fit within your container of what they need to be for you, right? When you can release, when you can let go, when you can say, I want them to pursue everything they need to pursue, to express the way they want to express, to do what they need to do, be where they need to be, I give them full freedom to be themselves. And I do not cling, because I realize if that means it's with me, it's with me. And if it's not with me, then it's not meant for me, right? When you let go, when you release, why does that create this expansion, right? When Christine and I went through that period where it's like the love was growing, shadow comes up and we go into a deeper love. Shadow comes up, we go into a deeper love, deeper connection. Like, it is crazy the way that her and I, like this morning, right? We're separated. She's in Europe. Yeah, I don't know how many thousands of miles that is for me. And I woke up this morning and I was just like, man, it's been a long time since she sent me a song. One way that she loves to communicate, she'll send music that she's listening to. This makes me think of you, right? And I'm like, it's been so long since she sent a song. 5 minutes later, she texts me. She's like, it's been such a long time since I sent you a song. I'm thinking about you, right? And this happens all the time. It's just like we're just plugged into each other, having these same thoughts, translating it through our own programming. So shadow comes up, transmute that shadow. We go into a deeper level of connection, energetic connection, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. All that goes deeper, 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 deeper. And then that shift was okay, you have the deepest love. You have the most loving love, the most unconditional love you've ever experienced. It's been growing, it's been expanding, you've been ascending. Now can you release? Now can you let go? And it's like, no, I can't. It's my most precious gem. What if it doesn't stay with me, right? But then as we release, as we let go, what happens? The deepest connection, the deepest, the most loving, because there's no disconnection. Because we don't need to cling to it because that energy is fused. There is no separation, right? So that's what I'm talking about, where it's like when we let go of these grips, when we let go of the container, you might experience an expansion, but that expansion is just like your experience. It's what's always been. It's what's always been. So tonight we're talking about, why does removing things make the experience more, the feeling more, you more? And it's because gripping, containing, controlling always collapses in the same way. There's this beautiful saying in Taoism, right? The Tao that can be understood is not the Tao. The Tao that can be explained is not the Tao. What is the Tao? The Tao is the source from which everything came, the thing that pre-exists any form of delineation or categorization. Masculine and feminine, what did that come from, right? What are those faces of? That is the Tao. The moment we begin to define what it is, we've collapsed it. We've said, here's what it is. We put it in a box. You can't put it in a box. The moment we try to explain it, even that doesn't even contain all of what it is. We can't even comprehend all of what it is, right? You put these containers and it collapses. That's the same thing with gripping. That's the same thing with holding. That's the same thing with needing to control. It collapses energy. It contains it. When you release, the expansion happens. Why? Because it takes up all the space that it's always taken up, right? So what I love to use is the analogy of the balloons. You've probably heard me say it before. Let's imagine you have a Russian nesting doll situation of balloons, right? You have a tiny balloon within a slightly larger balloon, within a slightly larger balloon, within a slightly larger balloon, right? That air in the tiniest balloon is being contained by that barrier. How does the air expand? By popping the barrier. You pop the innermost balloon, the expansion is a natural byproduct. It's not forced. It doesn't take conscious energy. It just expands to that next barrier, right? That is your path. And I understand that so many times, right? It's more of like we force our expression. We force moving forward. We're constantly, go, go, go. We have that programming of what's the word I'm looking for? Productivity. I need to be productive. If I'm not productive, I could lose my path, or I'm not going to get to where I'm going quick enough. It's all dependent on me, right? So we want to force, we want to force, we want to force. I'm afraid of speaking up. How do I make myself speak up? What are the ways that I can just force myself to get over it? You don't need to force yourself to get over it. You need to just see what the fear is that's collapsing the expression. Why are you afraid of speaking up? Perfectionism, fear of being seen, fear of missing out, whatever it may be, right? And as we see what that collapse is, you dissolve the collapse, you work with the collapse, you bring that fear into love, and then the expression becomes a natural byproduct. You didn't learn to speak up. You didn't force yourself to speak up. You're just no longer afraid to speak up. And it happens, I remember like one of the first times, guys, I always tell you, I was such a people pleaser, right? And, I'd made money in my 20s. I had a platform, and I would have people that would approach me all the time being like, we should start a business. And I was so spread thin. Or they'd be like, here's what my business idea is. Do you like it? Do you want to do it with me? And I couldn't say no. I literally could. I'm like, this is going to hurt my friendship. They're going to feel like I'm not supporting them. I could not get myself to say no. I couldn't. It was like an automatic response. Yeah, how can I help? You know what? Send it over to me. I'll do this for you. And then I'm like, dude, why am I adding so much to my plate? I can't do all this. As I went into my healing journey, right? And was like, oh, I need to set up boundaries. I didn't force myself to set boundaries. I was like, what is the reason why I can't say no? Oh, I'm afraid of how people are going to perceive me. Well, can I control how they can perceive me? No, I can't, right? And as I would do that work, witnessing the program, witnessing the collapse, slowly dissolving that barrier, I still remember the first time I had a buddy that we had done some businesses. They did not go well. It was really draining. He calls me. He's like, I have the best idea and I want to run it by you. And the dude's very long-winded, And without even thinking, I was just like, hey man, I'm going to stop you there. I'm not adding anything to my plate right now. I just don't have the bandwidth. And it's like, I don't know what you're making. I love it. I want to support where I can, if I can, but I can't right now. And I got to get to something else. And he was just like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. And I hung up the phone, and I remember I was shocked because just like my automatic response of always saying yes, like that boundary was just there where I was like, no, I don't have the bandwidth for it. And I'm like, that is the first time I've ever told someone no, you know? And I was like, how did this happen? This feels amazing. It's because I dissolved the barrier, right? I saw what the programming was, and the expression became a natural byproduct. I didn't force myself to overcome it. I just witnessed what it was. That is what the expansion is, guys. This is why it's what people don't say, on the spiritual journey, right? They're like, you're not learning, you're remembering. Why? Because you're already there. You're at the destination. Your energy is already its fullest, most expansive state. The self, the real self, the authentic expression, your highest, most powerful, most magnetic state, your divine form incarnated into a body. That self is already there. It is what remains when all of the illusions, all of the collapses, all of the programming is removed. Which is why you're not becoming the self. You're already the self. It's the programming that is fake. You know what I'm saying? That's what the illusion is. It's the programming, it's the walls that hold you in collapse, but that's not your natural state. You don't learn to become the self. You remove the programming that isn't allowing you to express it. So another analogy that's super cool in nature, right? You have queen bees and worker bees. When a queen bee dies, the colony will get together and they will just pick any old larva between 1 to 2 days old. They'll take it to the queen's chamber, and from that point on, the larva has a diet that consists of royal jelly. What does royal jelly do? Maybe it activates something, right? Maybe the royal jelly has specific nutrients that make the bee become a queen bee. Nope. The royal jelly blocks an inhibitor that all larvae have that stop the queen bee gene from expressing. Every bee is born with the potential to be the queen bee and has an inhibitor that holds it in collapse. That balloon, right, that contains the energy. And it is the royal jelly that blocks that inhibitor, removes that wall, and allows that expression to continue and to be realized. Do you understand what I'm saying? Any larva, you could take 100 larvae within that colony and give them all royal jelly, and all of them will become queen bees. This is why it is said you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Yourself, the realized self, that authentic self is what is, and the programming is the inhibitor. So we got to get that royal jelly, right? Not so that you can become what you are, but so that you can realize what you already are, so you can express what you already are. It is what exists beneath all of the BS. People think, I feel something powerful when I go to a temple. There's places in this world that are powerful portals and have amazingly powerful energy, right? Sedona or Mount Shasta or whatever, Here's the secret though, my friends. There is no holy land. There is no plot of land that is more sacred, more powerful. It is all the same divine source expressing. But we hold programming that says this area is powerful. I've been told that it's powerful. So when I go to that area, my body allows me to feel, my spirit allows me to feel the divinity that exists in that place, the powerful energy that is there. But when I'm in my own home or walking around my neighborhood, nah, that's just ordinary. So I don't feel that connection. That's just your programming. It's just your programming. And the crazy thing is, we're not lifting these holy sites up. We're not lifting these holy lands up. We're just allowing ourselves to feel what is there. And even if we think it is the highest right, it doesn't even come close to what you can feel when you embody the unity that is everywhere. But the difference that you feel between those sacred sites and the other sites, it is simply because we are collapsing everywhere else. We're not lifting other areas up. We're collapsing all the other areas. We're holding it down. We're saying we can't feel what's here. That's our issue. What's there is the same that is what is everywhere. This is why I also say there is no temple more sacred than the body you are in. You can feel that connection every day, everywhere you go, at all times. This is why Jesus says, right? Marry, make peace within the home. What is the hierarchy? It's not that we're lifting pieces up. It's that we're pushing other pieces down. We're suppressing the pieces. We're creating this fragmentation. What happens when we stop pushing them down? What happens when we stop fragmenting? They naturally embody union with everything else in its natural state. Marriage isn't forced. You know, everyone's like, Jesus loves weddings. The dude is always talking about weddings. You don't have to force something together. What is divine union, right? I was talking at the beginning, masculine and feminine, that is present everywhere. One cannot exist without the other. There's not a single example, not a single example in all of creation where a feminine principle isn't paired with the masculine to create an expression of some form. Not a single one, because they are prerequisite for creation. They are the conditions. If there wasn't one without the other, it wouldn't be. It would not exist. This is also why some people's manifestations, right? They can feel into it. They can feel a potential, but it's not coming into form. It's because they're not mirroring or marrying the masculine and feminine principle. Those energies are fused. The separation is the illusion. They're already fused. They're already connected, which is why you don't need to force them together. You need to remove barriers that make them seem separate, right? Connection, that one unified field, Taoism, the Tao that can be explained is not the Tao. That source, that is what is real. All of creation is manifested from within this source. So it is everywhere, at all times, in all things. That unity that has billions of faces. The faces are the illusion, and it's a beautiful illusion. It is amazing. I love being separate than you. I love having an individual experience. I love feeling union with my partner because coming together is one of the most beautiful things, right? Having like the little pieces that reinforce separation so that we can be reminded of unity, experiencing myself in her, feeling expanded, right? It's a beautiful thing. So when we say illusion, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean where it's like, you know, sometimes people want to be like, clarity is the top of the hierarchy and illusion is the bottom. No, it's all part of creation. It's all part of the experience. It's all beautiful. Why would we want to be the void of creation where it's everything and nothing, right? It's all and nothing. It just is. There is no separation. There is nothing to witness. Like, it's how boring, you know? There's no time and space. And it's just like, well, that sounds very long, but also you don't perceive anything. So what is? We don't know, beyond our comprehension. I'm just happy to be here where we can define some of the things and have experiences and have this love, right? Experience this expansion and constantly be reminded Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot for a little bit, right? I think of like Buddha as he's sitting under the Bodhi tree and Mara comes to challenge him. There's an amazing analogy. I haven't shared this one. In Sanatana Dharma, okay, there's a man who's walking with God. Sanatana Dharma is Hinduism, right? And in Hinduism, they've got their pantheon, thousands and thousands of gods, but all those gods are just one God. It's just one source wearing thousands and thousands of faces so that we can conceptualize what the energy is and what the expression is. But there's a man walking with God, and they're walking through the desert. And he's asking God, right? He's just like, how is it that people get sucked into Maya? Maya is the grand illusion. What every indigenous tradition calls, the indigenous people throughout all the world call this the shared dream, right? We are dreamers within a dream. There's this great cosmic mind, and we're being dreamed. Maya is the grand illusion. It's the dream. So he asked God, how do people get sucked into Maya? It's crazy. And God's just like, that is crazy. We've been walking through the desert for a long time. Can you go get me a drink? And so the dude starts walking and he goes to the nearest town. And while he goes to the town, he's knocking on doors, trying to get supplies. I'm making this, I haven't heard this story in a few years, so I'm kind of making my own. Don't quote me directly, but the principle is going to be the same. He's knocking on doors. He's trying to get, supplies, some water. One of the doors that he knocks on, there's this man. He looks behind the man, and there is a beautiful woman. And his heart starts beating out of his chest. He feels this connection. And they start talking. And they have this relationship, right? And with time, they get married. And as they're married, he has his business. They're doing things. They're building this life together. They have this house. And so they start having children. And they pop one little baby out, pop another baby out, another one. And he loves his life. He's growing in love in this relationship. It's all beautiful. And then one day it starts to rain. And the rain doesn't stop. And where they built their house, it was kind of like in a ravine. So it starts to flood. So they're going to higher ground. They get out of their house. They have the 3 kids. They're walking. The water's flooding. The children are slipping. The man is helping his wife, the 2 kids and the baby. The baby gets dropped into the water. So the wife dives after the baby. The kids fall in. The man jumps into the water to save his family. And he's being consumed by the water. He's drowning. And then he hears a voice. And it's like, hey, did you get me that drink? And he looks up and he's in the desert and he's standing next to God. And that whole experience that he just had, right? That was Maya. That was the illusion. He got sucked into it. Buddha meditating under the Bodhi tree. Mara comes, throwing all of these challenges, all of these horrors, everything to pull him off of his path, challenging him. Who are you? Right? Sending the daughters of Mara to dance in front of him to pull him off the path. All of these things. Guys, you experience it every day. You experience it every day, right? Is this going to work out for me? What's happening? Am I going to be taken care of? Why am I unhappy right now? I need chasing things because that's where my happiness is. All of that is Maya. All of that is the illusion. I understand how real it feels. It is so real. It is so real. This is why it's so important to embody paradox, because people who are like, it's not real. It's not real. Doesn't matter. We just bypass all the pain and suffering happening in this world. We bypass all of the accountability that we have to other people, our other expressions. In La Catch a la Kin, I'm another you, right? None of it's real, so who cares about these children born into slave minds? It's not impacting me. I got to focus on my job, right? In spirituality, you get a lot of people that go into that kind of like non-duality, and they only embody that side of the paradox, which is truth, right? Everything's interconnected. None of this is real. So I can just escape. The other side of the paradox is, right? You have the formless, then you have the form. It is real. Pain is real. Suffering is real. But people who get so bogged down in this energy of realness can feel that energetic density. Nothing's changing. Oh my gosh, this world is ending. It's hopeless. There's so much fear. So much fear because it's so real. Maya is so real. Suffering is so real. Pain is so real. When you hold paradox, both energies, it's not real, it is real. Pain isn't real, pain is very real. You crack yourself open energetically and create an effortlessly balanced state, okay? Because you have two energies pointing in different directions, opposing one another, and you're just here in the middle. This is not taking the middle path. This just means you can be in the energy, not of the energy. In the world, not consumed by the world. You can move fearlessly to be your contribution while detaching from all outcomes, realizing that you can't miss what's meant for you, right? The disconnection you feel, the barriers, all of that is Maya. It's just the illusion. It's just the illusion, which is why part of removing programming that doesn't serve you is simply witnessing it. I'm not happy right now. Okay, let me sit with that. What do I think will make me happy? A new job. Why do I think a new job will make me happy? Because then I'll feel more fulfilled. So if I don't feel fulfilled right now, why? Well, because I'm not doing anything that lights me up. Well, what can I be doing right now, right? Because what's going to happen is you have programming that says, I'm not happy. And then you're like, without X. So you're like, it needs to be a new job. And then most people will get a new job and they still have that programming that says, I'm not happy. So they'll feel comfort, peace, and it'll be brief. And then it dissipates and you're back into that, I don't feel happy. It is simply just witnessing it and reminding yourself, oh, wait a second, I'm the source of happiness. Oh yeah, I forgot. All happiness that I experience comes from me. Even if something external happens that makes me feel happy, that's just me having programming that says, if this happens, then I allow myself to feel the happiness that I already am. In every single moment of your life, you have everything you need to be happy. Always. Doesn't matter where you are at. You have everything you need to be happy and to source that, right? Because that is what is. The love is what is. The peace is what is. Everything else is fragmentation or a self-imposed barrier that creates a gap, reinforces separation. And when there's gap or separation, that's where fear comes in. Fear can't exist in union. Why? Because you're in union. Do you fear yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just like, oh, it's me. I wouldn't hurt me. I'm unified with me. I love me. Okay. So if nothing is here to hurt me, then how are the challenges and the friction here to serve me, right? Which is why, again, you're not raising up your best parts. You're simply just recognizing the energy that exists in these good parts, and you're collapsing the energy in other areas. Or you've had things that have happened to you, traumas, inherited programming that are collapsing you, right? You're born into that collapse. Our family, we're just not good public speakers, right? And you're just kind of like, okay, we're not good public speakers. I guess I don't know how to speak publicly. Bro, you're the source that expression comes from. What do you mean you don't know how to speak publicly? You are that energy that pre-exists all forms of expression. And that energy flows through you, right? So what's stopping you from speaking or expressing openly? Oh, I'm afraid how people will perceive me. Oh, I'm afraid that I won't do it perfectly, because what is a perfect expression? Oh, I'm afraid that people will judge me, right? Ooh, okay, so I have programming. Let me witness this. I'm addicted to external validation. I really care about people's perceptions. Oh, I need to remind myself, right? It's like, I don't need to care about perceptions. I'm here to express. And my expression is divine. and I'm safe in my expression, right? That's how you dissolve those barriers. Even the highest vibration falls short of unity. Okay. It doesn't even come close to touching it. People are always chasing the highest. Everyone's trying to ascend, to be that guru, the greatest guru, the most ahead out of everybody else on this plane, the best manifester, the greatest manifester, the highest vibration. To chase one is to exclude others, right? Unity is with all, with everything. And again, I understand that it's hard to unify with things outside of you. Just use it as a reflection, okay? If I'm not experiencing unity with everything outside of me, that's reflecting to me. There's still pieces that I won't unify with. Well, I know I need to unify with them, but it's annoying me and I need to overcome it. I need to get rid of it, right? You get pulled into that Maya again. You get pulled into that illusion. How do I force myself from stop this piece or rejecting this piece, or whatever it may be? Union is that all. It is all vibrations. It is all energy. It is all of the energy that you are. You are the entire ocean in a drop. It is the embodiment of the entire ocean. Chasing the highest vibration is like chasing specific drops within that ocean, being like, these are the ones I want. They're not even close to as powerful, okay? That's why any form of hierarchy, there are supremacy narratives everywhere. Why? Because everything is the same energy and it repeats at infinite fractals. So if we can witness a hierarchy in politics, here's the political views that are better than the other ones. We can witness it in races. Here's the races. This race is superior to this race. This race is superior to this race. You can witness it in spirituality. This group is superior. This group is chosen, right? People love to feel chosen. People love to feel like a light warrior or light being or whatever it is, which I'm not saying that those aren't a thing. I'm just saying a lot of people, right, who really, really identify with these things, being a old soul, which, it's really interesting because as you expand into union, you're just like, dude, what is an old soul? Time only exists here. It's like you came from that source that holds all of the potential. And so it's like, yeah, you might be experiencing, a different form, but how would you define what an old soul is? It's every soul exists outside of time, and outside of time, they exist as all as their forms, all forms, everything, all at once. But we love to feel chosen. We love to feel special by comparison. It doesn't mean that you're not special. It doesn't mean that you're not a light warrior. It doesn't mean that you're not an old soul. It doesn't mean that you're not advanced in your knowledge. It doesn't mean that you're not embodied. It just means, okay, well, let's look at it. Why do I why am I doing it through comparison? Why is it better to be conscious over unconscious? Right? Why is this gender better than this gender? Why do we classify everything in trying to define where we are in comparison to another? It exists everywhere. Everywhere. Supremacy narratives everywhere. Some cause a lot of harm. Some cause no harm, But the energy still wants to be organized into a hierarchy in the physical plane. We move in hierarchies, but again, we have to embody paradox. What's the other piece of the paradox? Unity. Hierarchy can't exist in unity. So as you're moving to create a unified world in the 3D that is built in hierarchy, you can also embody an energy of unity so that that unity anchors into this plane, so that reality begins to reflect that unity. It is the most powerful state. You can be the most powerful manifester in the world and be the highest vibration, and it's not even going to come close to someone else that's just embodying unity consciousness. That's why Jesus says, I and the Father are one. How do you become one with something? You've always been one. Why do you think he says, my desire is that you experience oneness even as we are one, right? You're already one with it, just so you know. I know you might not be experiencing it. That's okay. It's unfolding perfectly. The shadow's surfacing. You're learning to witness yourself, but you're already one with it. You've always been one with it. It's impossible not to be one with it. It is so powerful. It is the most powerful thing. So in Zen Buddhism, there's a beautiful teaching. It says, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. That is pretty graphic. Why would you kill the Buddha? What does this mean? It means on your path, you meet someone. Maybe it's me. You're listening to me teach right now. And you're like, this dude knows a lot. Let me put him on a pedestal, right? Let me witness that. Let me put him at the top of the hierarchy. He is one of my favorite teachers. So he's one of the good ones. He's at that top of the hierarchy. Kill that Buddha. Kill it. Your lifting me up or putting me on a pedestal does nothing for me. It gives me no energy. All it does is suppress your own energy. It just collapses yourself. You place someone on a hierarchy, just like you put a temple. This temple allows me to feel God, but this land doesn't. You're suppressing it. You place someone on a hierarchy, you're just suppressing yourself. You're creating that distance. They say the first step in becoming a Buddha is to realize the potential within you. They say the kingdom of God is within. It's within. It's always been within. We can witness different expressions. Hi, and Lakach Alakin, I'm another you, you're another me. We are energy, unified energy, witnessing one another through our own unique perspective. But it's the energy just witnessing itself. How cool is that? And if it's the same energy witnessing itself, sure, it expresses on a spectrum. Sure, there's polarity. But what exists beneath that? What really is? Nothing is above, nothing is below. That doesn't exist. So never put anything on a pedestal. No teacher, no guru, no one. Be inspired by them. See it as a reflection. Oh my gosh, this is a reflection of me. Of me. I see that expanded form in them. That is showing me the expanded form within me. I'm safe to realize that form. I'm safe to be in that form. I don't need to be exactly as they are. I have my divine expression in my own way. Never, never. You meet the Buddha on the path, kill it. No pedestals. We don't put anyone or anything on a pedestal anymore, right? Remember that analogy at like the beginning of the manifesting where I talked about there was a man and a woman who went around from town to town. These towns were suffering. They taught them to create fire. And in creating fire, right, they had community. They now had warmth. They could cook their food. It was beautiful. Once the towns knew how to make fire, they would leave the people teaching and they would go to another town. Lather, rinse, repeat. Eventually, they got to a town where the politicians and the priests who maintained power had these hierarchies. They didn't like the fire makers. They didn't like the power that they had because the community loved them for freely sharing that information. So during the night, they killed the fire makers. But they were smart because they didn't just get rid of the fire. No, they placed the fire-making tools on a mantle. They lifted them up. They told everyone, let's all remember the fire makers, the tools. They removed all instructions of how to create fire, and the people just worshiped the fire makers, and they never made fire again. When you place something on a pedestal, you're getting caught up in illusion, right? You're here to make fire. There have been so many people. You might be thinking of a specific person when I'm talking about a fire maker right now. You don't even realize how many people with that same exact energy have come into this plane, men, women, dual spirited, everything on the spectrum of expression, who have embodied that unifying energy, and their voices have been suppressed, collapsed. They've been erased from the history books, or their messages have been changed time and time again. All right. Time and time again, it happens. But we do not ever place anyone or anything on a pedestal. Again, we can witness, we can see the reflection, we can recognize the reflection, but it is a reflection. And in witnessing it, if you can see a reflection in someone, it means it's in you, right? You're just seeing yourself. You're witnessing yourself in some way or some form. If you put fleas in a jar with a lid, they will jump and they will hit that lid. They have power to jump outside of the jar easily, but you train them by putting the lid. You remove the lid after a certain period, the fleas will never jump out of the jar, even though they have the potential, even though they have the strength, even though they have everything within them to do it. They will continually jump just to the threshold and never escape the cup. The ceiling is programmed. It is a programmed response. This is why so much limitation that you experience in your life is a programmed limitation, a programmed collapse. You are the flea. You have learned that it is normal to collapse your potential, and you accept it as your reality. That barrier is not outside of you. Every single one of those lids or barriers is within. Remove the barrier and also remove, exercise. That movement is the magnetism that retrains yourself, that remembers, oh, wait a second, I have way more strength. I can jump way higher than this, right? Expand past that cage. The collapse is the illusion. The collapse is what isn't real, which is why, even if you're experiencing something, even when you're just experiencing fear and you don't know how to transmute it, you don't know how to get through it, the thing you don't want to do is numb. You don't want to escape. You don't want to bypass. Just be in the fear. And in that fear, remind yourself, even if you cannot embody it right now, just plant those seeds. This isn't real. Fear isn't real. I know that what I'm experiencing is a programmed response, right? And allow yourself to be in it. This is planting seeds. And seeds that are nurtured, they take root, they grow. Just witnessing, right? You don't need to force a change to overcome fear. Just witness the fear. Let that fear dissolve. What dissolves? That illusion, that gap. When the illusion or gap dissolves, what happens? You experience more union. You experience more expansion. As you experience more union and expansion, fear continually dissipates. I used to be terrified because there were like timelines that I would kind of see when I would, meditate or take a journey or something. And it could have just, like these timelines, right? Could just be fear-based projections. Like who knows what it is? But I would see, things that could happen to me. And I was scared. I was like, well, I don't want to lose my life. You look at some of the things that are happening right now in America, right? Where they're putting together like commissions for people who are anti-government, right? Speaking against whatever the status quo is. And it's like, uh-oh, that's dangerous. And it's like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't speak up so much. I don't want to get arrested. No, dude, you can't miss what's meant for you. If I feel like I need to express or speak, I'm going to express or speak. And I realize that every circumstance, everything that happens is going to be exactly what is meant to happen. Which means if something that's like a negative thing that we're afraid of, if it's meant to happen, I can't miss it. But what I can do is create a lot of suffering on the path, trying to avoid it, and then it's going to happen. And so the best thing you can do is just remember, you can't miss what's meant for you. It's all unfolding perfectly. Your expression, your divine expression, your avatar, your authentic expression is who you are when you simply stop holding yourself back. That's it. When you stop holding yourself back, when you stop performing, when you stop wearing the costume, you're already it, my friends. You're just pretending not to be it. And this is why, again, people call it remembering, not achieving. This is why you're not traveling towards yourself, but you are the self that is just beneath all of the performance. There is literally no distance. You know, and I used to say when I like first started waking up, it was kind of like, wow, I was conditioned to believe there's one path to God. And then I was like, but now I see many paths up the mountain to God. And then that shifted where I was just like, well, I guess all paths in some ways are leading to it up the mountain. They all go to the same peak. And then the shift was like, wait a second, there is no path. There is no peak. There is no mountain. There's nothing to climb. This journey that we've been so programmed to think it has to be this process, it has to unfold. Dude, you're already the self. You're already there right now. Evolution is constantly happening. The universe is infinitely expanding, and so are you. I am myself right now. I am the embodiment of that unity with myself right now. I recognize I will have an evolved expression continually. I will have a deeper, more expanded awareness a year from now, 2 years from now. But I do not outsource my embodiment of the self to that prerequisite date when I have more. I hope this makes sense. You embrace it now. You allow yourself to feel safety now, even in your healing, even in that light and shadow. You allow yourself to feel love right now, even as you have programming that says you can't, which is why you can enter that space of non-judgment and witness it. But you can recognize you're the love that exists underneath all of it and allow the unfolding to just happen perfectly. But you don't become the self once you reach the end of the destination. There is no end. There is no destination. All that exists is now, right now. You're safe to be it. You're safe to recognize it. You're safe to allow yourself to be it. The gap is the only place that fear is possible. What creates a gap? A fear of missing what is going to happen. FOMO, gripping to things you don't want to lose. Fear of being perceived. Fear of consequences for your expression, right? All of these different fears come up in creating gaps because we act like whatever is outside of us is separate from us. In that illusion of not being it, right? A gap opens between you and out there. And in that gap, that's where fear exists. What if it doesn't work out for me? What if this happens to me? My worst fear happens to me. Every fear needs an other to fear. There has to be another. Because in union, fear can't exist. But if there is another, then fear can exist. Society is poisoning me. It is good versus evil. What is good versus evil? It's you versus you. Source versus source. Men versus women, source versus source. Women versus men, source versus source. The billionaires versus us, that is source versus source, right? And as we close the gap internally, as we come into union internally, as we recognize, okay, all that separation outside, okay, it's telling me separation inside. What are the pieces that I hold as holy ground, as temples, as sacred? What are the pieces that I reject as little dumps? You know, stinky piles of trash. pieces of me that I want to overcome. No, as we come into union internally, it manifests externally. Smile at a mirror, it smiles back at you. Embody union internally, union is embodied externally. As above, so below. As within, so without. I understand just how real physical reality feels. We are separate. We are separate. I'm talking to you right now. You are hearing my voice as something outside of you. What a beautiful, grand illusion and dream. It is amazing. But also, nothing can be separate. It's all the one source, which is why when Jesus says, I and the Father are one, it is why Jesus can speak to unconditional love. It's why he can speak to love your enemies. Do good unto those that would do harm to you. Treat others as you want to be treated. As you've done it unto these, the least of them, you have done it unto me. And they asked him, when did we do it to you? And he said, when you fed the hungry, when you clothed the naked, when you took care of the sick. How's it doing that to them? Doing it to him? Doing it to me? Doing it to you? Because in Lakech Alakin, I am another you. Tatvam Asi, thou art that. That's the energy that we remember when we are in our fear, when we remember when we're in the gap, when we remember that we're creating some other, some boogeyman, some devil, something that we're giving power to over us, outside of us. Nothing can have power over you when you realize it's all you. That's what sovereign energy is. You don't create another. Therefore, no other has power. Why are those that trigger you your greatest teachers? Because it's showing you where you create others that you give power to. Nothing has the power to trigger you. Nothing has the power over you unless you give it that power. So we're grateful. We are so grateful for our triggers. We are so grateful for these people who jab us, who are divine messengers showing us where we're not embodying union. Because everyone listening to this, what do we want? We want to be our full divine expression. We want to be loved unconditionally, held unconditionally. We want to receive everything that is meant for us, and we want that for every single person, thing, animal, whatever in this plane. That's what abundance is. We are not competing for a space. We don't need to reinforce hierarchies because we don't need to define our worth in comparison to others. Your worth is beyond comparison. The universe is infinitely expanding. There is infinite space for you to express. There is infinite space for you to receive. There is infinite space for abundance. There is infinite space for blessings. There is infinite space for happiness, for paradise, all for you. There is infinite space for everything that is meant for you to come into you, and it doesn't even touch that infinite space that exists for me. That is abundance. That energy, when it's embodied, when it's expressed, it is reflected back to you in infinite expressions. And it is an upward spiral. Everybody, I hear it so often. They reinforce these gaps. I'm calling it in. I'm calling in my soulmate. I'm calling in a new job. I'm calling in a new home. I'm calling in better experiences. I'm calling in blessings. When I pray, please God, give this to me. Please God, help me with this. Please God, give me. You are holding an energy that it is outside of you. You are reinforcing the gap, saying it is outside. I don't have it. I'm calling in my soulmate. The mirror reflects back to you that there is a gap between you and that. You can't call anything in. It's not going to bring it in. Jesus, guys, I love Jesus. I think he's such a great teacher. It is crazy to me how Christianity has just completely taken his message and like built a system that was the exact opposite of what he was teaching. But I was raised in Christianity, and so I love going to his words because I'm like, oh, the dude, he really was so plugged in. He says, I stand at the door and knock, right? What is Jesus? Christ consciousness. What is Christ consciousness? Christ just means anointed. Who's anointed? Everyone is. Everyone is. You're all divine energy. Anointed for what? To be your divine expression. What is your divine expression? It is unity consciousness. So that unity consciousness stands at the door and knocks. Why is he standing at the door and knocking? Because it is an imposed barrier. You're the one that's keeping it out. You're the one that's collapsing yourself. Open that door. It comes in. When you call something in, you have your door shut. I'm calling it in. And it's literally sitting there, knocking at the door. And you're like, oh, wait a second. I don't need to call it in. I need to remove the barrier that is keeping it from me. I need to open the door. I need to pop that innermost balloon. The expansion is a natural byproduct. Stop reaching. You do not need to reach. This is why it's not ascension. People love to reinforce ascension. It is expansion, all directions. Unity, all. You don't need to reach for it. You remove and you dissolve what is keeping it from you. Why don't you feel like you are good enough to be a Buddha, to be a Christ anointed, to be a whatever it is that you place on a pedestal? Why aren't you good enough? Why do I feel like I'm not there? Why do I feel like there's still more earning, striving, pushing, productivity that needs to happen? What does that stem from? Okay. Name something that you're trying to call in. What is the barrier that makes me feel that this is separate from me? What is the hole I'm trying to fill? Do you want a soulmate? You want to feel loved, held. You want to experience with another. All those things are so beautiful. But if you outsource that feeling of love, of being held, of validation, of support to a predetermined time when that person comes in, what is reality going to reflect to you? The gap. The fact that you don't have it yet. You're like, I don't have it, but I want it. And reality's like, you don't have it, but you want it. Right? It's just a mirror. Standing at the door, knocking. Okay, let me remove it. Let me embody that love. Let me embody that validation. Let me be that expression. When you embody that wholeness, could it reflect as a soulmate? Sure. If it's what's meant for you, you don't need to cling to that, because that might not be what is your perfect, most expanded experience in this life. And if you spend your life chasing something that isn't meant for you, you're only going to create your own suffering. But as you embody that wholeness, as you embody that love, as you embody everything you're looking for, you will feel safe to express. You will trust your inner guidance, your intuition, your discernment that is leading you on your path. And that path is magnetizing and pulling to you everything that is meant for you. As you take a step closer to the mirror comes closer to you. You understand what I'm saying? If there is something within the mirror that you're calling in, you remove that barrier, you take a step towards it, you magnetize and pull it towards you. You cannot miss what's meant for you. You don't need to cling to what might not be meant for you. Use your desires, your wants, the feelings of lack or space to witness the program that is making you think you don't already have it. And then trust that as you embody it, it's going to manifest, it's going to render, it's going to happen outside of you in infinite lenses, angles, and perspectives. I have had one of the most abundant past 2 years. 5 years. And it has not been financial, right? I've always had exactly what I needed, but that is it. That is it. But it's been the most abundant period of my life, abundant in love, in support, in experiences, in expansion, in mindset changes, in awareness, in developing my spiritual gifts. But if I was clinging the entire time, which I was for a period, that abundance has to be money, all I did was create so much suffering. You know what I'm saying? So much suffering. Not because I wasn't abundant, not because I was ever in danger, but because I was constantly gripping and creating this idea of danger. Oh no, what if I don't have enough next month, right? I understand. I understand how reality will give you all the conditions to pull up your scarcity energy where you're just like, bro, I am not going to survive. But you can also look at all the evidence from your life. And it doesn't matter the deep hole that you've been in, you have always survived. Everyone listening to this, you've always had everything you needed. Always. Even in some of those darkest periods, whatever it was that you had to do, you are able to survive and to be here. And that's going to continue. Always. You cannot miss what's meant for you. So pull the thread. Why don't I already have this? Why don't I feel it? Why don't I embody it? Keep asking until you hit a belief or not a circumstance, right? That's the lid that conditions you. Then test the lid. Is it actually a wall, or is it a trained ceiling or a cage that is already removed? Okay. Almost always it is the second thing, right? It's just a trained ceiling or cage. You don't need to push up against it. You just need to realize that the lid is off. Oh yeah, the lid's not here. I have that potential to move. Where in your life are you jumping to a height that nothing is enforcing anymore? This is why, and I tell you guys, when I was really having a hard time creating and expressing, and I didn't know what to do, and I was tied up in the energy of perfectionism, because I'm like, if I don't do it perfectly, it's not going to work out. I'm not going to reach my potential. And I was freaked out to move. So many things that I needed to do, so many things going in my mind that I did none of them. What did I do? I didn't force action. I didn't make myself act. I sat in the energy of inevitability. I used frequencies to pull me into my, that subconscious alpha theta state. And then I had my activations that I made for myself that are linked, if you guys want to check them out, with inevitability. The realization I can't miss what's meant for me. It's all coming to me in perfect timing. Everything, a mindset change, an expansion, an insight, inspiration, the movement, the pulling down of the walls, the collapsing and dissolving of those walls. Guess what? It's happening inevitably. It's not your effort that's going to tear it down. It's happening perfectly. If it's still there, it's because it's serving you in some way or some form. It'll dissolve when it's no longer serving you. Just keep bringing the awareness to it. But it's all happening inevitably. As I sat in that energy, as I worked with that energy, as I planted those seeds, action became a natural byproduct. I was like, oh yeah, it's all unfolding inevitably. So what do I want to create right now? I don't need to worry about perfectionism, because guess what? It's going to reach the people it's meant to reach. If it doesn't reach a lot of people, it was never meant to. What was I supposed to learn from this experience? What's it showing me? How cool that I can make content and not have to worry about who it reaches or how it reaches it or stress about any of that. Because I know the message will continue to reach who it's meant to reach. And if it's meant to blow up, it will. It'll expand as it's meant to. It all happens in perfect timing. There were months where, when I was like a year or two ago, I was really planning all this content talking about, like simulation theory, right? And talking about how we live in this like holographic reality that is a projection of consciousness. And I had like a 60 or 70 part series that I was like creating, so excited to do. And I just felt inside, it's like, it's not time, it's not time, it's not time. And I was just like, why is it not time? Every time I try to create, I just felt inside, it's not time. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this happening? And it's so funny because it's like, once I felt, okay, it's time to start creating, I was just like, that was so weird. For 6 months or whatever it was, I felt like I shouldn't create. Then I started making the content. And as I started making the content, someone shot me a DM. Hey, there's this new podcast called the Telepathy Tapes, I think it was. and you should check it out. And I went to it, it had like 30 listeners, and I was just like, oh, okay, I'll still check it out. Really cool podcast, amazing podcast. I binged it. So I made videos on TikTok. Those videos got millions of views, right? I was telling everyone, I'm like, you guys need to go watch telepathy tapes. As I was making those videos, other people started talking about telepathy tapes. That month, it had more listeners than like Joe Rogan or the top podcast. I had followers, right? Joe Rogan like followed me and liked it and different things. Next thing I know, telepathy tapes was on Joe Rogan. Was that because they saw my video? I have no idea. It doesn't freaking matter. Was that success that telepathy tapes had because of me? No. It is a great podcast. It was always going to do exactly what it was doing. But the timing was very cool where it was like, oh, I felt like I shouldn't create, but then I created at the perfect time. I was making the series. This came in. I was like, cool, I need more content. I listened to it, and I got to be a part of adding hype to something that a lot of people had some perception changes, got them to see the world in a different way, open their minds a little bit. All that friction I was feeling around creation, not publishing yet, beat myself up. What's wrong? How do I overcome this? Bro, that wall was there because it's like, not time. It's not time yet. Doesn't matter how bad you want to plant seeds in the dead of winter. They're not going to sprout. You know, you're not going to be able to eat. You're not going to be able to harvest. There's a time and a space for everything. This is why Ganesha in Hinduism is the remover of obstacles. He's the embodiment of abundance, but he's also the placer of obstacles. Why? Because abundance, that harvest comes when you plant in soil that is fertile. The amazing things that happened with that content happened when I started creating in an energetic environment that was fertile. Your walls, your barriers, the things that you're dissolving, coming into union, it's unfolding perfectly. It's unfolding perfectly. It is not your force that's going to make them dissolve. You are not ahead or behind. You are simply just witnessing. And in that witnessing, the dissolving happens. As you feel inspired in that dissolution of the wall, as you feel more love, you trust your intuition, your discernment. Oh, because I don't need to fear, so I can move, because I can't miss what's meant for me. So what am I feel inspired to do right now? Well, I'm feeling inspired that I need to work with some energies of inevitability. Or I'm feeling inspired that I need to go take a class on energy healing. I'm feeling inspired that I want to go visit Italy. I don't know why. It just keeps coming to me. You don't need to know the reasoning behind everything, but you can trust that your internal guidance system is guiding you perfectly. It is taking you down the perfect path for the walls to dissolve in perfect timing. If you were meant to fully embody union right now, you would be embodying it right now, my friends. Which is why you don't need to stress about getting to a destination. You're exactly where you're meant to be. You are the self right now. The shift is right now. You are the giver of meaning. Every single thing that happens to you, you give it meaning. What are the meanings that you are giving it? Are there things that are collapsing you, or are they initiating you? Is this thing holding me back, or is it calling me into expansion? What meaning do I give it? Pick the most abundant, expansive meaning. Become the programmer. You're not becoming it. Once again, you're just too busy pretending that you're not it. And you don't realize that you're already it. You've always been it. Your divinity is inherent to you. You were born with it. The distortion within Christianity where they took Christ's message, right? Anointed. Jesus was anointed. You are anointed, my friends. There's not a single person listening to this that isn't anointed. The distortion. He taught the kingdom is within you. He taught you don't need a middleman between you and it. That doesn't mean that churches and these things are bad. No, it's beautiful to come into community, but you need to remember that source that is within you. You don't put anyone or anything on a pedestal. You do not outsource to anyone or anything outside of you. You trust your inner guidance, that kingdom of God within you. But what is taught in these systems of control? You were born a sinner, immediately fragmented. Oh, I'm a sinner. I need to prove myself. I need to be saved. Immediate fragmentation. You look at the story of Adam and Eve. Eve fell, partook of the fruit. Now she's subject to Adam. Immediately, people born into this are giving their power to a hierarchy, a system. You are born into that fragmentation. You see these fragmentations everywhere. Every true shepherd, every true guide, every true teacher, every true avatar, embodiment of divine energy in this plane that is just being their authentic self. That is all it is, their divine expression. Every single one of them, the fire makers, the teachers of how to make fire, are guiding you inwards, telling you you have everything you need, reminding you that there is nothing to fear. Fear not is one of the most repeated phrases in all of Scripture. And all of these fear-based religious systems use fear to control. What a paradox. How ironic. Fear is used to control because it fragments, it reinforces separation and hierarchy. It puts you in a box. You never need to fear anyone or anything, meaning you are safe to be where you are right now, as you are right now. You are safe to be you. You are safe to accept yourself as you are. You are safe to love yourself completely and totally as you are. You are safe to be in your energy and feel peace in knowing that everything is working out for you. You are safe to know that this universe, that God, that the higher self, however it is that you conceptualize it, that all of that outside of you is within you. Meaning your life is a love letter from you to you, created by you for you. It is a path, an existence, an illusion, so that you can experience the beauty, the bliss, and the divinity of forgetting the union and then reuniting with what has always been. You are fully safe to be where you are at on your journey and accept yourself where you are at. You never need to fear, ever. If your soul is guiding you to take a step, it is for a reason. That experience is going to be the perfect experience for you. You do not know what the outcome is going to be. You cannot consciously predict it. But it will be the perfect experience, which is why you are always safe to move, to act, to rest, to be, to feel, all of it. Right now, you are the giver of meaning. You feel like you want to make a shift in your life right now, you can give this the power. What I am saying to you, this video, this can be the initiation. This can be the shift. You decide. You give it that power. You give it that meaning. You can do it with anything or anyone at any time. You're looking to shift something. You're looking to embody a more expanded form. That was the sign that I needed. That was the initiation. That was the click. This just happened. And now I'm expanding. It's you. I stand at the door and knock. Open that door. It's you. You don't have to force it open. You don't have to, push. You just got to remember, it's the illusion. The door is the illusion. The barrier is the illusion. I love you all so much. You are all so amazing. I just am so grateful for all of you, for your pure hearts, for everything that you are doing. You are truly medicine. You are such beautiful, beautiful energy in a plane, right, that is showing us all the chaos that exists, all the discord, all the fragmentation, all the gaps. So thank you for being you. You are divinely chosen, not because of comparison, not because others aren't, but because everyone is. Okay? I love you so much. This is sign language for I love you. Sometimes people are like, what's that symbol? It's just sign language for I love you, my friends. But anyways, have an amazing rest of your day or night. In Lakech Alakin, I am another you. Tatvam Asi, thou art that.